What's going on, everybody? Happy Friday. We're back. It's us, the trio,
Morning,
Dr.
everybody.
Dan,
Morning.
my boy Adam. We're here. We
Morning.
made it, guys. It's Friday.
Another
it's
week.
another Friday. We have successfully. I'm gonna move me around. There we go. That looks better. Now it looks like I'm talking to you guys instead of staring off into the distance. But yeah, man, it's been quite a week. How was your week, Dr. Dan?
Interesting. Ran into some new stuff that I hadn't done in a long time, like welding on aluminum, like we were talking about last night. It's amazing how a cap tube can imitate a piece of primer cord. But yeah, how you guys doing?
Yes, sir.
I'm
great.
surprised
How
it's
are you,
Friday
Adam?
already. It seems like we just did this.
I'll tell you what, man, this week did fly by. I actually have a date with a super hot chick tomorrow, aka my wife, and we are going to the lake together, just the two of us. It's opening weekend down at the campground. We've already gone down and cleaned up the site. Well, we didn't clean up the site. My wife cleaned up the site while I fished with the kids. We split forces. So I took the kids fishing, and we're talking about time management, so this is relevant. I took the kids fishing while my wife and one other kid stayed back at the site and cleaned up. It was a fair trade. So we're going back down tomorrow. I'm really looking forward to it. And I think we're going to talk about that a little bit too, because time management surpasses just business. And I do apologize. I'm sniffling a little bit this morning. I don't know if I'm catching a cold or allergies or what, but time management
Must be
is
something
so
in the air.
important.
My son woke up the same way this morning.
Yeah. I've been sniffling and I don't know. I'll be fine though. Yeah, time management is so important, man. And I know that if we all sat here and were honest, we would all say it's something we need to work on, Would you guys agree? Like, no matter where you are, you can probably do better. You know what I'm saying? So I have a challenge.
I can definitely do better.
I have a challenge that I'd like to put out there and see if anybody. Actually, I'm gonna go over the challenge in a minute, because I want to let more people join. But I also wanted to. Well, let's say hey, good morning to some people. Good morning, Garrison.
Morning.
How are you, brother?
Garrison.
Thank you for joining us.
Morning, Garrison.
Let us know how your week's going in the comments, Garrison. Who's this lady? Marion Ibsen.
I don't know who this person is. Morning, Marion.
That's why I'm a little nervous about talking about time right now, time management. Mrs.
She's sitting next
online.
to you.
Got Mr. Stoker joining us. Good morning, brother.
Morning.
Morning.
But yeah, I'll pray us up, and I got a quick verse, and then we'll get right into the chat. If you guys have any questions, even if it's not about time management, if you just have a question, I know Andrew's got some comments because he's always got good comments. He keeps the conversation going. But you guys engage with us. Drop some comments, some questions. We're open books, so if you're curious, we'll talk about it. But let's get prayed up, and I'll share a quick verse, and then we'll get right into it. Papa, thank you for this day. Thank you, Lord, for the opportunity to just get together as a community, as brothers in Christ, as fellow business owners and appliance technicians. It's your time, God. The time that you give us belongs to you. And we should just be thankful and forgive us for when we're not. Forgive us for when we just waste time and don't use the time wisely. But also thank you for the grace that you show us and the times you step in and do what we can't do. And when we mess up, but you still help us out. Thank you for my brothers, Dan and Adam. Thank you for the Alliance community as a whole. I just like to lift up every business represented here, every family represented, that you would bless them, Lord, and help us to be good stewards of the one thing you give us that we can't get back, and that's time. Take over this time and guide us in your will. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
One of my favorite verses in the Bible is Colossians 3:23. And I was thinking about time management, and I was planning for today's discussion just this morning, because I didn't plan before because I wasn't managing my time very well. But I thought about Colossians 3:23, and it says, whatever you do, work heartily as for the Lord and not for men. And this is something that will help you. If you get this mindset in you, it'll help you with managing your time. When you start to look at the time in your day, it's not your time, but God's time. You know, when we go out every day, we're just running, trying to keep up, and the whirlwind's happening. Typically speaking, for me, I can only speak for TK, I'm not managing time very well. But when we take the time in the beginning of the week to plan out our week and plan out our days, not that roadblocks and obstacles and distractions won't come, but if you take that time in the beginning of the week and say, Lord, I want to plan out this week to be as effective for my family, as effective for my business, and as effective for those on my team that help me in this business, it really does change the outcome of your days, your weeks, your months, your years. And it truly can change your life. I am a horrible time manager. I'm probably the worst person to be talking on this subject because I've wasted so much time. But I will say this, I have gotten to a point now where I have gotten a routine every single week that helps me be a better steward of the time God gives me. But Colossians 3:23 says, whatever you do, work heartily as for the Lord and not for men. The people in your life are important, but remember that the time that God gives us belongs to him. And it's super important that you do dedicate some of that time back to him. And I think it's important that we talk about that. You know, dedicating time. Let me check my internet. Can you hear me now?
Yep, you're good.
Okay. Sorry about that. Must have been having some internet.
About every 30 seconds, it stalls and then catches back up.
Oh, great.
It just started doing it, so we didn't miss you for very long.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, yeah, that's the verse for today. And I'm going to hide that now. And I want to ask you guys this. If you were to track your time for the week, if you were to dedicate either Saturday or Sunday to sitting down and planning out a strategy to track your time for the week, whether it's on paper, whether it's on your phone or whatever, and actually track what you do for 1 week, what would that look like? Do you think that would help you to figure out some of the areas where you're wasting time? If you were to be, let me ask you guys this, and you can drop your answers in the comments. If you were to track your time for a week and then look at where you're spending your time, do you think you're using your time wisely and managing it wisely? Or do you think you're probably wasting a lot of time that you could be doing better and spending more time more efficiently? What would you say, Adam? Because I see you shaking your head up and down.
I probably spend too much time checking my phone and seeing what everybody's saying on Facebook and seeing what my emails are coming in and all that. As much as I try to get away from it, I find myself still picking it up in the middle of the day or sitting down at my desk when I come back in from service calls and immediately going to it or something like that. My problem is marketplace. I'm always trying to find the best deal on a tool. So I'm constantly checking it to see if somebody posted something I need.
Yeah, I can relate with that because I can't let my wife hear me, but I'm looking for a new John boat. My wife said I can't get a new John boat because I have a John boat sitting in the backyard that I haven't titled yet. It has never touched the water in 40 years. It was my dad's John boat. Yeah, I'm checking Facebook Marketplace every day for jet skis and John boats. Even though technically I'm not allowed to buy one, I'm still looking every single day. Oh, look, babe, check this John boat out. This one's only $3,000. That's not bad.
Well, you never know what you're gonna find. Like I found a Milwaukee right angle drill for $50 the other day, and it's like brand new.
I mean, you don't want to lose money. No, you don't want to lose money.
You never know when you're going to need one of those. And the last time I needed one, I ended up putting the drill bit through the roof. So I told my wife I won't put any more drill bits through the roof.
That's funny. But seriously,
funny when it happened.
Yeah, it's funny now though. If you were to sit down and track your time, am I still cutting out, guys, or am I good now?
You're doing good, TK.
You're doing fine.
Okay. If you were to sit down and track your time for a week, whether you used a note,
you just cut out.
Whether you used an app on, oh goodness gracious, I don't know what's going on with my internet. My apologies. Everything looks good. It says I have a strong signal. So just you guys talk more. I'm going to be quiet for a little bit. See if it gets better.
Sounds good.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, so
you only, like I said, you only cut out a little bit.
I'm trying to do a better job with my time management. My wife got me a calendar that they were giving out to all the nurses at the hospital, and it's has the month all on one page. So I've been trying to put down everything I have to do every day on there. When everybody has off, doctor's appointments. My case right now, baseball season started, so I got baseball games I have to go to, and all the other stuff we have to do every day, which has helped drastically. But I still find myself forgetting stuff I'm supposed to do. What about you, Dan?
Well, like I said, it'd be nice if I could connect my software with my Google Calendar and my Google Calendar so it'd give me a pop-up. It never fails. I'll want to do something special, do something outstanding for a customer, and you've got a archery tournament, or vice versa. I'll be wanting to do something with the family, and then something will pop up because that's another thing you have to watch with your time is where you're going to put your energy. What is important? Because there's all kinds of gnats, and it's like herding cats some days. And all of a sudden you'll get distracted and you're thinking, okay, this one's only going to take about 30 minutes to take care of, and I'll take care of it. And you end up missing out on a lot of things with your family because that 30 minutes turned into 3 hours.
Yep.
So, you got a big thing about time. Again, time management is putting importance to, what's important and what's really could wait. And the customers, my light bulb's burned out and you got to be here right now. Well, no, I don't.
That's a very important point. To remember what has to come first. When you write it all down and you start looking at it, you realize exactly how much you're doing and not spending time with like your family. I look at my schedule and almost every night I have a meeting for something, and it's stuff for the kids, but it's stuff to organize the kids' activities and to be part of the committees that oversee it. And you're not you think you're spending time with your family and doing stuff for them, but you're really not, because you're not with them doing what they want to do.
Yep.
I got
and all that. Yeah.
Can y'all hear me okay?
Yep, you're doing good, TK.
My whole thing just froze and like everything just turned into like spinny circles. So I don't know what's going on. I've had great internet for a long time, and this morning apparently my internet wants to be a little bit of a problem. So but I wanted to talk about this because I think one of the biggest lessons that I have learned since I've been a business owner that has helped me manage time is the power of no. If you want to manage your time effectively, you have to learn the power of no. And it goes right along with what you guys were just talking about. Number one, you need to sit down and write out what is important. What is important in your family? What is important? Well, number one, what is important in your relationship with God? Because if your relationship with God is important, you daggone better well schedule time to do the things that you want to do to be close to Him, whether it's prayer, reading, ministry, whatever. And then your family, and then your business. And at the end of the day, you can't get any time back. And that's literally at the end of the day. Once those 24 hours are done, you can't get any of that time back. So the more time you spend doing things that you shouldn't be doing instead of what is priority is robbing those three important things of time that could be spent with it. And you have to learn to say no. You have to learn to tell people, I'm sorry, I can't do that. I'm sorry, Mr. Johnson, I can't come out there at that time because, I have my son's soccer game, or I have a date with my wife, or, that's the time that I'm doing my community Bible study at church, or whatever it is, the things that are important. But if we don't sit down and write out what is important and plan for the week, I have a routine. I was telling Adam and Dan about my Sunday routine. And this is something I've just recently started with the introduction of ChatGPT and the tools and AI and all that stuff. But every Sunday, what I do is I wake up, spend a little time with the family. My kids like to watch cartoons or YouTube videos with me in the morning. And then I get on my computer and I post my videos and posts for the entire week for the Alliance group. So any of the shorts and stuff you see, any posts from me, all that's planned out so that, and I do it on purpose on Sunday so that I'm not on Facebook all week, doom scrolling and making excuses to be on social media. And then after that, I get on ChatGPT and I do a form of like a brain dump to prepare me for my week. And I basically just put everything out on there and say, this is the stuff and it's real messy and sloppy, but then ChatGPT and it's in all its awesomeness helps me to plan out what I need to get done that week. And it'll help me prioritize the things for that week. And then I can put it into my calendar. I can make things, I can make reminders, I can set events, I can do all these different things. And then my week is more organized. And not that things don't come up and stuff doesn't happen where I have to, shift or maneuver, but spend it. And it takes me about an hour to do it, but it is an absolute game changer. One of my favorite quotes or my favorite little sayings is that if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So if you're just going into your week like TK did for years and years and years, just all nilly-willy, just saying, oh, well, I'll hope for the best. We just go into our week. I hope for the best. I hope this week goes well. It might go well. You might get fortunate enough that it goes well. But think about how much better it would have been if you'd have taken an hour on Sunday or even Saturday or whatever and planned out your week a little bit more and prioritized what's important and made sure that, hey, I got time to spend with my wife, spend time with my kids, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All right, we got some comments coming in, guys.
Sounds
We
good.
can't manage time. We can only manage our decisions and our choices on how we spend our time.
Yes.
That's deep.
Mhm.
That's deep. You ever learn why we use base 12 for time? Really interesting the way we counted using our fingers causing base 12. I'll have to look into that because I don't know what you're talking
Yeah.
about.
Nothing. Yeah.
Don't put too much on your schedule. That's a great point. That
I had a
is
bad
a
habit
really
of
great
doing
point.
that.
Yes. Talk
Mhm.
on that, Adam. I'd like to hear your opinion before I start blabbing.
So they kind of shy upon me taking service calls because when I answer the phone and I take a service call, I want to get to that person right away and get their problem taken care of. So
Mhm.
I will try to fit them in on the schedule wherever I can, and I'll be already overbooked, and I'll try fitting that service call in, thinking it's only going to take me 15, 20 minutes to do. And it goose up the schedule for the office, trying to plan everything out. And
Yeah,
then,
that's where you got to stay in your lane.
yep, exactly. Which is a hard thing because I have to be in the office every couple of days to help. So I have to answer that phone, and
Mm.
I'm constantly being told I have to learn to tell people no. I have to learn to tell them that we don't work on that product and that they have to call somebody else instead of trying to be like, I'll come out and see what I can do, even though I can't get parts for it. Or we're not trained on it, but I'll still come out and see if I can take care of the problem for you. I have a bad habit of doing that, trying to make everybody happy and trying to take care of everybody's problems. And it comes back to haunt me. I told somebody about a week ago I'd fix a ice maker water line for them about 40 minutes away in Green Bay. Got up there. They had the weirdest way I've ever seen an ice maker water line hooked up. They hooked it up backwards. They took the water line going to the ice maker from the valve. They cut that water line and they hooked it up to the water line coming from the house.
Oh, yeah.
So when the valve opened, they were getting water coming out the other side of the valve. They completely wrecked the valve. Apparently now the ice maker's leaking. So this is going to be my third trip up there. And I'm going to have to replace the ice maker now after I replaced the valve because the valve started leaking after I fixed the water line. So it's 2 trips up there where I can't charge them. And I probably didn't charge her enough in the first place going up there. So I got to learn to tell people no. And that would help my time management drastically.
Well, and that's
funny
where
thing. Go ahead, Dan.
But that's where
Yeah.
networking with more guys around your area too might come in handy because
Mhm.
no, I'm sorry, I can't do this, but I'll tell you what, maybe Jimmy can. Here's his number.
Mhm.
And that was the big reason I went there because all the guys in Green Bay told her no. And we were telling her no because she's just over the county line in Green Bay. And normally we don't go there. And I'm like, well, it's going to be a simple fix. I'll make this exception this one time, man.
No,
Because
good
she just
deed
couldn't
goes
find anybody
unpunished.
to go. Yep.
No good
Exactly.
deed goes unpunished, Adam. That is
Yep.
your motto for the week, and a lot, it could be everybody's motto. No good deed goes unpunished. And I'm not saying don't do good deeds, but learn when to say no as well. Learn when to say no. Learn when to cut them off. And one thing that I've noticed, and I learned this tracking our KPIs and looking at the numbers and looking at the profitability of my company. We used to run 8 to 10 calls a day. And I was absolutely miserable. And I found out, and this goes along with what Saul said here. I found out that we are actually more profitable and have less recalls and have more first trip completes when we schedule 6 to 7 calls a day rather than 8 to 10. So we're doing less work and making more money. And I don't know if this is true across the board or if it's just with my company, but when I rush and I feel that I'm behind schedule, I like being ahead of schedule. I like calling Miss Johnson and saying, Miss Johnson, I'm running ahead of schedule. Can I get there early? And another thing that we incorporated for everybody but Austin, because Austin's just a beast. But we do a empty time slot in the middle of the day, and we call it lunch. But it's whatever you want it to be. So if you start at 12 or if you start at 9, you got your 9 to 11, you got your 10 to 12, you got your 11 to 1. So you got your 3 in the morning, and then your 12 to 2 is open. And then you got a 1 to 3, a 2 to 4, and a 3 to 5. That's 6 calls a day with a nice little break in the middle to catch up, get lunch, do whatever you need to do, run to the supply house or the shop to grab a part, whatever, fill in the blank. Because we're real big on going back. Like I'll give you a perfect example, which kind of bit me in the ass or in the butt. But I had a guy this week. It was a 2024 Frigidaire top mount refrigerator, R600, obviously. And I went out there, no cooling at all. And that piece of crap Frigidaire defrost timer was just seized. I mean, I tried to turn that thing as hard as I could. And the guy was like, I was like, look, sir, I was like, this thing's, I was like, I don't know if you realize it, but this thing's still under warranty. And he was like, yeah, I know. He's like, I just need my fridge working, yada, yada, yada. Well, Tribbles had one in stock. So I told him, look, I said, I'm going to rock through my day and I'm going to get back here at the end of the day. Hopefully, if I can, not committing to too much, and get back here and get you taken care of. But the reason that I was able to do that was because of the way we schedule our calls, because I knew I'd have time and I could get done early or swing back by there midday. And then this is the sad part of the story. I go pick up the part, which in hindsight, I could have used the Whirlpool and just, the Whirlpool with the black wire on it. And I haven't found a defrost timer that doesn't work for. But I've been a little leery about using anything not specifically for it on any R600 units. Just because I don't know enough about, like, is it a hazard if I use a Whirlpool? Like, are they making these new defrost timers for R600 units any different than every other defrost timer in the history of defrost timers? I don't know the answer to that question. But anyway, that's a squirrel. I wouldn't think so either. But I got the part. I was heading back. I was 10 minutes away from the dude's house, and he calls my phone. And he says, hey, man, I got Frigidaire on the line. Are you still coming back today? And I said, yes, sir. And he goes, man, he said, Frigidaire said they're going to cover all of it. Do you do Frigidaire warranty work? I was like, no, sir, I don't do Frigidaire warranty. So it was a little bit of a frustrating thing, but I did have to, if it had not been the situation that it was, I would have gotten taken care of that day. And it's nice to have those time slots and manage your time that way so that you can get back to those customers. So that if Tribbles or Marcone or whoever has the part, hey, I can swing by. This is what I was talking about. Sealed and spark-free components. When I did my R600 training at Virginia Technical Academy, they were saying best practice is do not use anything except for the specific parts made for that unit, because of it might not be spark-free. And I don't know if that pertains to defrost timers. I will say this, the way that thing was sealed up, I would say it is made different, because that timer looked, you know how on the old school timers, you have those little tabs and you can pop them open and see how the wires are set up so that you know where to put your black wire. And shameless tip that my partner taught me when I was training if you're ever, it's usually one or two that you put that black wire on. If you're ever uncertain where that black wire goes, put it on one and then put it in defrost. Make sure that the motor's spinning, and then force it into cool. Make sure the motor's spinning. Whichever one the motor spins in both positions is the position that wire goes on. So you don't have to break the old one open. Just put it on one. If the motor spins in cooling and in defrost, then you know you're good. If you put it on two and it only does it on one, but not the other, obviously it's not going to advance out of that setting. So that's just a little shameless tip that Austin taught me.
I know
Is
they
that how
used to
y'all
send
do
it
it
in
too?
instructions with it to tell you which one it had to go on for a continuous run. And when they stopped sending the instructions along, I ended up having to go in the service matters through Whirlpool every time I use it now to remember which one I have to put it on for continuous run.
Yeah. Yeah, Saul dropped the part number 482493.
I like
Yeah,
what he's saying.
and
there,
I will say this: if you don't have that defrost timer on your vans, you should have that defrost timer on your vans. That thing will get you out of. I even have used it to replace adaptive defrost control boards. You can do away with the adaptive defrost control board altogether and use that 482943 timer. Thanks for dropping the part number.
I know you can do it. I've never done it. I've been afraid to do it with adaptive defrost because I'm always afraid if I try taking it out, I'm going to blow up something in the refrigerator.
Nah, I mean, I've done it enough times that I feel comfortable doing it. No callbacks. And those adaptive defrost control boards, I mean, I've seen quite a few of them. But yeah, I almost feel like it's the defrost timers are better. And last longer, but that's a little gray area. Like some people are okay with those type of retrofits. Some people aren't. You just have to decide for your business if you want to do those types of things. I'm all about some retrofitting as long as it's safe and good and it's going to take care of the customer. Like, hey, I'm down for it.
Yep.
And it saves you time and it saves you headaches.
Exactly.
You just got to be real careful with that, though. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say you can get it all done in one trip, and you don't have to make two trips back.
Yeah.
Only
problem I have with some of the upgrades that some of the guys do and whatnot is they don't understand that the last person to touch the dynamite is the one who's going to be blamed. If something happens, especially with these manufacturers, if some of these guys, the machine is just out of warranty or, just within warranty or whatever, well, I want that first time complete. And I've seen, I'm sure everybody's seen where, some jackleg has put a Whirlpool heating element, shoved it into the can of an LG and, stuff like that. But even if you do a modification, some of the guys like to put the heater on the Samsung. I've already been told, well, if that causes any kind of a fire, they're going to come back on you. So
that's where I get weary. The fire investigator in me comes back and says, I've seen too much stuff happen. And I know from doing fire investigations how the manufacturers are going to come back and say, you altered that design. We're no longer liable for it because it's no longer UL approved. And that design started the fire. And now you're stuck with the cost of $1 million house that burnt down because the repair you made caused the refrigerator to start on fire. That's the main reason I won't do that heating element in a Samsung refrigerator, because if any of the houses in Manitowoc catch on fire, then you're going to be the one who has to go back and tell them my repair started your house on fire, and I really don't want to do that.
Yeah, I've done hundreds. My company has done hundreds of those repairs. So fingers crossed, boys.
Well, it's a low watt heater, and I mean chances are pretty darn slim. But you just got to keep that in your head. If you're going to modify something, you're the last one to touch the dynamite.
Yeah.
So,
and that's the key. That you hit it right there. Like, you own it. Like once you've done something outside of the specifications of that unit, you own it. It will come back on you if something happens. And that's why you have to be 100% sure that when you do these things, that they're safe and that they're going to last.
Verify your
it's
repair.
not, yeah, it's not one of those things you can play because we're talking about time management. You want to lose a bunch of time, burn somebody's house down or flood somebody's house, and you're going to lose some time. You're going to lose some money.
You're going to lose a ton of time when it goes to court. You're going to lose a ton of time dealing with the restoration companies, dealing with the fire department, not to mention what's going to happen with the insurance companies. And I can tell you from experience, you do not want to deal with a fire investigation.
Yeah.
The paperwork that goes into a fire investigation is more than you could ever imagine.
Well, I have a story that I wanted to tell you guys that I thought the Alliance community would enjoy. So I go out this week on a electric range. Customers complain, basic electric range, real tight galley kitchen, like hardly had room to even pull the thing out. It was so small. One of the smallest kitchens I've ever seen in my life. And I get out there and the customer's complaint was it wasn't heating properly in the oven or any of the burners. So I cranked the burners up, put them all on high, flat top. None of them go high. None of them are glowing red. Then I turned the bake on and it never set it to 350. It never glows red, just barely even heat. And I was like, this thing's not getting proper voltage. Like there's no way that this thing's getting the power that it's supposed to be getting. So I grab I open the door, I grab up underneath the top of the oven, I start to pull it out, and I always put my head back and look in the back just to make sure that, I have good clearance and everything looks good. I put my arm on top of the oven, and then I reach over and the sink's over here and I kind of brace myself up against the sink. As soon as I touched that freaking sink, boy, that thing hit me. And I've been shocked. I don't know how many times I've been shocked in my life, more times than I'm going to admit on a YouTube video. But it was one of the worst shocks that I've ever. I mean, it hit me and my right arm was it was numb. Like afterwards, like it was shaking. And the woman was standing right there, like, holy shit. And she's like, what's wrong? I said, that thing just shocked the shit out of me. And I was like, I said, I'm sorry, man. I said, I didn't mean to cuss for you. But like, I was legit like shook. And so I grabbed my NCV out of my pocket and I hold it up to the casing and it's beep, 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 beep. I was like, oh no. I said something ain't right. So I flip the breaker, cut it off, check it again. It's completely dead. And then something said, check the microwave above it. So I checked the microwave above it. Beep, 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 beep.
Hot
ground. And I said, yeah, I was like, something. I said, ma'am, I said, something's going on with your electrical. I said, this thing's got constant power to the actual cabinet of the oven and your microwave. I said, you're very fortunate that this thing hasn't shocked the crap out of you. So I turned all the power off. I pull the oven out and I look back and I see those little black specks everywhere, all behind the oven, little black trails of mice feces. And then I look at all the wiring. It was a rigged up wiring job. And they had spray foamed all of the holes. And she's like, yeah, we had a mouse issue. I said, yeah. So I aborted mission, turned power off to everything, aborted mission, told her to call. I called the property management company, told them they need to get an electrician out there. But I mean, that thing hit me and it took me by surprise because you're not expecting that type of thing. This has nothing to do with time management. I just thought it was a cool story. You guys ever get shocked?
I have not. I've gotten shocked, but never a 220. My uncle, though, when he was out doing service calls, he one time forgot to unplug a stove and had the element on and hit his belly up against the element, and it actually threw
Oh,
him across the kitchen, and he got knocked out.
Oh wow.
wow.
I almost late last year, I almost got 220. I went to help one of my service techs because he couldn't figure out a cooktop that wasn't heating. And he said he turned the power off at the breaker to it. So idiot me thought he knew what he was doing and never checked to make sure the power was turned off. I took the cover off the junction box under the counter and reached in there with my screwdriver to pull the wires out because the wires were all burnt. The wire nut had failed, wasn't put on right, and it burnt up all the wires. So I was going to reach in there and fix it. And as soon as I put my screwdriver in there, he had flipped the breaker for the wall oven and not the cooktop. And sparks flew, and it actually lit the box on fire. Yeah, was not a happy camper.
Oh,
Ended up having to tell the customer to call the electrician because the wires were burnt so far back anyways, I had nothing to strip and fix it. But yeah, he was not a happy camper when I got done with him either.
Yeah, those microwaves can be dangerous.
You guys having
I've never got
problems?
hit. I'm not. Can y'all hear me?
What was that, Dan?
All of a sudden, you guys just totally black.
Oh, you're frozen right now on my end, Dan.
Yeah, I think it's your connection, Dan. Yeah, I haven't been hit by a microwave yet. I'm super, super cautious when it comes to microwaves. I know that with the types of capacitors they put in them nowadays that they don't hold the charge like they used to. But I still, to this day, discharge. I discharge every capacitor just to make sure because of the horror stories you hear. And I don't think that oven. I don't think I got hit with 240. I think it was just one leg.
Yep.
That has somehow gotten to the chassis. But it was still enough to wake me up and say, holy crap, that could have been really bad. I mean, the scenario that I'm envisioning is her sitting there cooking or something, and then she's touching the oven, and then she reaches over to like rinse her hand or do something, because the sink was literally right next to it. Like you could touch both of them at the same time. Worst case scenario. And at the end of the day, like in hindsight, I'm glad it was me and not her. I'm glad that tenant didn't get the crap shocked out of her or something worse. And that I caught it when it did. I was very thankful that was the case. And
I've
I left
already
my
had it
flashlight at her house.
to that, like a water line on a refrigerator. I'll be delivering a brand new refrigerator and I'll be back behind it, hooking up the water line, touching the refrigerator, and all of a sudden my ear would touch the water line and my ear starts tickling. And they'll have low voltage coming back across their water line from something. And customers are always like, when I tell them you might want to get an electrician, they can't believe it that they have their water pipes are live.
Yeah, I've seen that too. I posted a video maybe a year or so ago where I was at a customer's house and I got shocked by a water line, and it had voltage running through it. I was like, what is going on here? But we're gotten off topic, and I think that's great because, tying this back into time management, you got to be safe out here, guys. The stuff that we do, there is a high potential for risk. And when you're going out there and you're ripping and running and you're trying to do 8 to 10 calls a day and you're going as fast as you can because you got 6 more calls to do and you're running behind schedule, that's when you do stupid stuff. That's when you make mistakes. That's when you cut corners. But if you manage your time correctly and you might save some time today ripping and running and getting through your calls fast, but how much time is it going to cost you down the road when you got to go back? How much time is it going to cost you when you flood Miss Johnson's house or electrocute Miss Johnson because you did some stupid crap on her thing trying to splice some stuff together you shouldn't have been splicing to begin with. At Lowe's, oh, here we got a comment from Don't Overthink This. At Lowe's for a return fix, I never worked on a microwave before, and support was like, yeah, plug it in, reach down in there and see if the thermostat has power. Shot me across the floor. I almost quit. Oh my goodness. Yeah, you gotta be careful out there, guys.
That doesn't sound good.
Yeah.
I can tell you too how we can tie this, we can tie electrical and the time management. I had a brand new Whirlpool washer a few years ago, an old farmhouse, that the stainless steel water lines were corroding off the back of the water valve. So you'd put on a new stainless steel water line, and within 2 weeks, the at the part where it screws onto the plastic inlet valve, it would corrode off and it would break off and flood their house. I was out there three times and put 3 sets of new hoses on there, and each hose did it. So I'm like, what's causing this? I have no clue. The water valve was bad, and it was sending low voltage back through the water, and it was corroding or oxidizing the stainless steel and causing it to break off because of the minerals in the water out and coming from the route. And time management, I made 3 trips out there and had to make a 4th trip out to replace the water valve. Some of this weird stuff, if it looks weird, you might want to make a phone call and start figuring out why it's doing it right off the bat, instead of just assuming, oh, I have a bad water or bad hose or something like that.
Yeah, well, and again, with the time. With the time management, I've started to, and Marion's bringing it up right there with a checklist. I've started to carry my no contact voltage checker in my pocket. Second I come up to an appliance, I've been knocked too many times. And I know I've heard of a young man that lost his life because the electrician had wired the dryer wrong. He reached across, he was laying across the dryer, and it killed him. I carry my no contact with me in any appliance before I do anything. I'm going to touch it. If it beeps at me, okay, something's not right. Either we got a short in air or we got grounding problems, whatever. And that would have helped save your time there with the hoses. You'd be on, wait a minute, we got voltage here on this cabinet, or we got them on those hoses. This ain't right. And then at the end of the day, or at the end of the call, I used to tell guys, I started sounding like a broken record. Verify your repair. Okay. When you fix something, make sure the machine is working within proper spec, because what you fixed may have caused or shown up on something else down the pipe, or you forgot to put the drain hose into the drain pipe, or who knows what. You want to talk about wasting time just because you saved an extra 5 minutes or 5 seconds, put that in your SOP, guys.
And
voltage,
the time that you get busy and you forget to check something. I had a really good customer of mine a few weeks ago, and him and me were talking, and we were talking about something not even related to the appliance. I think we were talking fishing, and I forgot to check his water dispenser after I put the new door on his refrigerator, and there was no water coming out of his dispenser. And he doesn't live close to our shop. So I ended up having to 2 days later drive all the way back out to his house and figure out why he had no water coming from his dispenser. It turned out the new dispenser that I had put, the new door I had put on, had a broken wire in the harness already before he had even started using it. And I needed to reorder the door. And that would have saved me a trip back out there if I would have did it right away. And I would have just had to reorder him the door right away.
Yep.
I think that what you just talked about, Dan, is worthy of a post in the group, because I don't do what you just said. And I would imagine that 90% of techs don't do what you just said. But we could literally
imagine that people wouldn't do it, because I was taught that every time you replace something, the last thing you do is run it through a diagnostic cycle.
Oh, no. That's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about, I confirm every repair. That's not what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I'm talking about checking the appliance before you touch it with the NCV.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're not checking your repair after every time you fix an appliance, you shouldn't even be out there. Like put your tool, hang your tool bag up. You're not an appliance repair technician. If you're not checking your repair after you're done, you shouldn't be doing this. But I do not check every unit with the non-contact voltage checker before I do it. And if I had, especially in a scenario like I saw the other day where I knew it was something with power being lost, the burner's not heating properly, I would have saved a lot of time. And I would have saved myself from getting the crap shocked out of me.
Right.
But it reminds
me
of
little beep, beep, and that little beep beep will show to the customer there's something going on there.
Yeah.
It's not just you going, hey, there's you apparently you got a pinched wire or something. Customers notice stuff like that when what do you mean? I got voltage. It's see here how it lit up.
Yeah.
I mean, I had one where
we can literally save somebody's life with that.
I had one
everybody has one of those little
checks. I had one where a guy decided to use his wife's drain pipe as the neutral on the stove hookup.
Ooh.
And she said every time I use the stove, I'm getting shocked and it's not working right. And I saw that and she goes, well, what do you mean? I said, well, do you have life insurance on you? I mean, I reached in and cut it and turned it off. But I think it's very important. In fact, if you really want to put it in your SOP for your techs, because if a tech gets zapped and ends up in the hospital or something, or God forbid, killed or whatever, there's that little company that works for the government, OSHA, OSHA. If you don't cover your butt, man, they love to come in and clean your bank account.
Yeah, that's super important, man.
A few seconds will save you so much heartache, headache, and money.
And it's even worse for me because I do keep my NCV. I have the Klein thermometer NCV combo, the little pin, the small pin. Which shout out to that thing. If you want a sweet pocket non-contact voltage tester and temperature gun, get the Klein one. I've lost more than I'd like to admit, but like every time I lose one or forget it somewhere, I actually have a backup in my van now just in case I lose it. Because that thing, I mean, I use that non-contact voltage pin so much, and I am going to put that into my systems now that when we walk up to an appliance, first thing we do is hold our NCV up to it. Because at the end of the day, it is serious. We're dealing with electricity here, and we've all been shocked. I mean, if you've been doing this for more than a couple of years, you've been shocked. But if we can be safer, we're managing our time better. We're managing hazards better. We're doing everything better. So that's a big one. Like I said, I'm gonna make a post about that and just encourage these guys, especially these new guys, because they're probably not thinking about it. Heck, I've been doing this 10 years and I don't do it I don't do it on any appliance. Like that's not what I'm thinking about when I walk up to an appliance.
Yep.
So it's going to take a little retraining myself, but I think it's important enough that we should do that. And those little Klein non-contact voltage pins are perfect because it's right there in your pocket. I keep my purse pants on me, as I like to call them, my purse pants. So anyway, let's wrap this thing up, guys. I appreciate y'all coming on. Do you guys have any closing thoughts? Anything you want to share before we go?
Just remember, it's okay to say no. And I have to keep telling myself that because it's a bad habit that I don't say no. So say no, and it will save you a lot of time in the long run.
Well, yeah. And I'd say taking a few extra seconds can save you hours. Just like Saul says, gloves, using the voltage checker, making sure you test, verify. When I did an apprenticeship way back in the day, old Wayne, if he'd have had to come back to fix something that just because I didn't check, God, he really cared about my self-esteem. Just take that extra second, that extra few seconds. that's going to save you so much heartache and so much pain. Voltage check, wear your gloves, use the floor protector, yada yada.
Yeah. I'm just gonna echo what these guys are saying, and say this: if you're ripping and running and you're feeling overwhelmed and you're feeling like you can't catch up and you're feeling like every day is just a rat race, slow down. Start planning more. Start prioritizing. Take some time. I don't care when you take the time, but take some time to sit down and get a rhythm for your week. Get a rhythm that works for you. You are the owner of the company. You are the boss. You can do it however you want. If it works better for you to start early, then start early. If it works better for you to start late, then start late. But figure out what works for your rhythm, and incorporate it into your life. Incorporate it into your time with God. Incorporate it into your time with your family. And I feel like I say this at the end of each episode every week. But if you're out there ripping and running, and you're out there overwhelmed, and you are not taking time for God and family, it will affect everything. It will affect your business. It will affect your relationship with your team. It will affect your relationship with God. It will affect your relationship with your family. So I really want to encourage you guys, take some time for your family, take some time for God, and specifically take some time for your wife. If you're a married man or a married woman, take some time for your spouse and make sure that you are not neglecting them. Because I can tell you one thing that has changed my life for the better in the last year is spending more time with my wife and reading the Bible, praying, having special week. Like we're going to the lake this weekend. And it's truly transformed our marriage. Not that we had a bad marriage to begin with. We went through some rocky stuff in the last year or so, but it has truly changed my marriage for the better. And I just want to encourage you guys, if you're not taking that time and you're out there ripping and running and you're not spending time with your family, spend some time with your family, man, because all the money and all the stuff and all the business and all that stuff, it's not as important as your family. It's not as important as your relationship with God. And I'm preaching to myself here first, or I'm not preaching, but speaking to myself here first. You have to spend time on what's important. And your business is important, but it's not nearly as important as God is. And it's not nearly as important as your family is. Your kids are not gonna, when you're gone and dead and gone, your kids are not gonna say, man, I sure am glad Dad worked so hard and spent so much time out there running service calls. They're going to say, man, I'm so thankful that Dad took me fishing. I'm so thankful that Dad took me camping. I'm so thankful that Dad took me hunting or whatever it is you like to do. I like to fish with my kids and go camping. So make sure you spend that time, and take some time, spoil your wife a little bit. Set a little money aside and take your wife out and take her on a nice date, or take her out for a weekend to a hotel and have some glasses of wine and smoke a big fat joint and have a good time. So
I can tell you how important it is as a kid growing up in this industry that my family never went on vacations. We never did anything because somebody always had to be at the business. The family member always had to be here. So we never did anything. And I can tell you that me and my wife are constantly having arguments over that, because I grew up with that philosophy that we have to be with the business all the time. And she's constantly on me. You need to take time off for this. You need to take time off for that. We need to go here. We need to go there. And I'm like, well, summertime's coming. It's the busy season. Winter time's here. I have to make sure we're getting things ready for the spring. And she's like, these excuses are the same excuses that your grandpa used, the same excuses that your mom used. You need to stop doing this and spend time with your family.
Amen.
So,
Yep.
Amen.
I can tell you
break that
industry
break
can suck
that
you in real
generational
quick.
curse. Yep.
Break the generational curse. That's absolutely right, Dan.
Yep.
Well, you guys
There's
have
been
an
times-
awesome weekend. Go ahead,
You
Dan.
guys too.
I was just gonna say, there's been times when, you know, yeah, I should have been at the shop, and we should have done this, and we should have done that. My son had a archery tournament. Nobody could be there. Well, shut this moneymaker down. First comes God, then comes family, then comes your business. Write your business plan as your life plan together. I'm speaking as a guy who's in his 60s with a 17-year-old boy. Time goes fast. So that's all I'm going to say.
Yep.
Well, thank you guys for joining us. If you haven't signed or gotten ready for the next mastermind, it's May 17th. Those masterminds are for all access members only. Make sure you take some time for your family this weekend. Turn the screens off, turn the phones off, turn all the distractions off, and spend some time with God and spend some time with your family. Zach and Doug will be back Monday morning for another morning grind, and we will see you guys next Friday. Peace.
Have a good week, everybody.
Have a great one, guys.